I'm allergic to every single thing in the state of Texas right now, and I think it's ragweed and pollen and kicking my butt. And it's not that I don't have a dry mouth right now, but I've got this tickle in my throat. If I start cutting loose on it, just bear with me. And I don't know where the trash can is, but I may run to it. So, we passed, so District 8 has passed legislation through the Homeland Committee. We're really fighting sex trafficking. Harris County, Houston, Texas is the worst city in the country for sex trafficking. And it breaks my heart to say that because it is literally right there, and it's part of our district. Harris County is in District 8. And something that we work hand in hand closely. And I like to say this when it all comes, this is not a red and blue problem, this is a red, white, blue problem. My Democratic colleagues in Congress, we work hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder fighting this problem. I mean, we'll kill each other on everything else or a lot of things. But everybody recognizes this problem, and we're moving as profoundly as possible, working at the federal level with our local law enforcement. And by the way, thank our local law enforcement and all that. I should start with thank you guys for that. Really great to have you guys around. And thank you to all the spouses that are married to military members in here. I pray for you every day, especially if you're married to a Marine. But so, one of the laser focus issues as in the office as well is sex trafficking, because it's right here and it's migrating north. It's not staying in Harris County. We have a problem right here where we're sitting. It's happening in this town, and very challenging to. I ask the questions from the FBI, DHS, HSI. These are the departments that are working on this. I'm like, how do we fix this problem? And the complexities of it will make you drop your head. And you just, I mean, all you can do is pray. But how do we fix this issue? And I hope one day that we will. But it is absolutely tragic. Last committee is Veterans Affairs, Department of Veterans Affairs, which if I could only do one thing in Congress, the committee wants to be Veterans Affairs. I speak that language, so it's easy for me to come and engage with my veterans and try to do everything we possibly can to make sure that they're whole. You know, we introduced a piece of legislation, three actually. One of them was the service animals for our veterans. The government's going to fund grants for private institutions and public institutions that train service animals for our veterans. My brother has a service dog, so I've seen firsthand how well those service animals become part of the family, but help that veteran out in need. It's amazing, you have a canine and he or she just sit there and listen. So you can offload all your problems, you're good to go. And I thought, and that was very much a bipartisan effort. Morgan McGarvey from Kentucky is my ranking member in my VA committee, and we walked that thing all the way through with all the members and all the way to the Senate to the President. It's great. And then the Joey Lentz Act. Margie, you want to stand up with me?
Get it, Margie.
All right, we passed. Unfortunately, Margie lost her son a few years back, and she and I have been working hand in hand to pass a piece of legislation that mandates that the services provide and engage with members in the medical space of their service records to have them tested to make sure that there's no underlying issues that could present themselves that we're unaware of. And unfortunately, Margie lost her son that way, but we're gonna change that in law. We passed that out 2 weeks ago. I don't even know what date it is right now, but it's up and it's running, and it's going to go through the House and the Senate, and that's going to go all the way. I have faith in it. So, job well done, young lady. And one of the other pieces of legislation that we just pushed. I'm with Brian Talley in the room. Tyler is here. Another gentleman from Conroe. He passed a piece of legislation. This was a few years ago. He actually flew to D.C. and walked the halls of Congress, a broken man. Busted, gone, and walked around Congress talking to members and got a piece of legislation passed that would have helped prevent what had happened to him. And it went all the way up, and it's the Brian Talley bill. It's in law. And 2 years ago when I got elected, he had another one that he wanted, and we introduced it last week. Last week, week before last. Anyway, so that was up there running. So great. So VA is doing great things. All right. Hey, let's get into the fun stuff. I'm going to cover a few topics. I'm right here, not going in. That's an amazing ring you got there. Is that a right hand ring? I had to buy my wife a right hand ring. Oh man, okay. Okay, I'm going to cover Department of Government Efficiency. I'm going to cover tariffs. I'm going to cover budget reconciliation, and then I'm going to open it up for questions. Okay? And when we get started on this, I like to say this right now. What you're hearing is Morgan's perspective. It's my eyes, ears. It's what I see. It's how I educate myself in Washington, D.C. It's my perspective. Okay? You can have members of Congress from both parties standing next to me, and their opinion may be slightly skewed, but as your elected official, you're going to get, it's going to come from me. All right? We're going to start with Department of Government Efficiency. Here we go. When the president was sworn in, he campaigned on this. He campaigned on, hey, I'm going to create a DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency. They're going to engage, they're going to go into these departments and they're going to find fraud, waste, and abuse. Okay? There was no secret that was going to happen. And when he was sworn in, and one thing you have to respect and love about President Trump is that when he says it's happening, it's absolutely happening. So the day that he was sworn in, DOGE was activated. Okay, government efficiency was activated, and it was injected into the departments. And the first department that was injected to was USAID, okay? And it found a thread. It found a thread and started to pull on it. And it started unpacking expenditures. It started unpacking taxpayer dollars that were going places that I personally, I'm sure some of you in here think the same way, that we shouldn't be spending American taxpayer dollars on outside the continental United States, okay? By the billions and billions of dollars. You've seen lists on TV. I could rattle through them if you like. I got them in this folder here in case you want to hear them, but some of them, you got to shake your head at and like, I don't know why we need to spend a couple $1 million on prophylactics in Iraq. I mean, that's, and these lists aren't fake. But we've gone in and I've asked, let me see these lists. So once those numbers were found, they were presented to you all, so the American public could see it. Now, DOGE has been, it's no secret, both of me, everybody's coming after government efficiency, what's happening, yeah. And presidents throughout the past 20, 30 years have talked about, hey, look, we need to get into the departments and find out where the fraud, waste, and abuse is and get rid of it. We can't be wasting taxpayer dollars on things that we don't need, period. And President Trump, that's what he did. He walked in, he's like, all right, go. Here you go, and DOGE is injected. So once it found that and presented that to the American public, me included, it started going department, showing the American public, hey, look, here's what we think is not copacetic. And then when those things were found, they were sent, and it's not Elon Musk, okay, this is where, and I'm just going to upset some big folks in here, just hear me out, please just hear me out. Those findings were sent to 3 different departments, OPM, OMB, and GSA. Those are government entities. Those are the ones that handle personnel management, budgeting, and GSA handles everything else, like facilities and whatnot. And those departments started making the cuts. Okay, they're doing the freezes. It's the emails that everybody that here, I'm sure somebody in here got one of those emails. Now here comes Morgan. Okay, this would be my perspective. It's like, hey, was this necessary to do this? Yes, I think so. Billion-dollar corporations, they bring outside consultants in to find out what's happening in their corporations, and they move accordingly. That's what President Trump did. He's a businessman, brought in an outside consultant, gave it a name, and it just fired everybody up. And here it goes. I could ask this question all the time, so I'm going to tell you exactly how I answer this question. If they're like, hey, how would you have done this? And this is the military guy in me, okay? When President Trump activated government efficiency, at the same time, he is appointing his secretaries, okay? VA, DOD, State Department. He's saying, hey, young lady, you're going here, you're going to labor, you're going to State Department, you're going to DOD. Well, when you appoint somebody, then they have to be confirmed by the Senate, and that takes time. All right? And